Good morning. That was powerful, wasn't it? It actually proves that when two microphones working all together at the same time, they don't like each other. Thank you very much, Tiana, Karina, and Diane for enabling our young people to serve with their gifts. And I think when I think about the purpose of the church, of this church, I think that that's exactly what we're here for, to empower each other to serve God and fulfill our destiny, fulfill our purpose that He has given to each of us here on earth. Isn't it a good purpose of the church? What do you think? Today we are talking about a skill or an art that's been lost and needs to be found for us to actually fulfill that purpose and that given by God, destiny and mission. You know, for a long time, evangelism was primarily pursued through public speaking. You know, hence this strong vision of an evangelist, like a powerful public speaker. You know, we all remember those huge evangelism campaigns that happened in the 80s, in the 90s. You know, all these people like Billy Graham, Dwight Moody, Rick Warren, Tim Keller, Mark Finley, John Carter, and we can keep going with the list of the public speakers that were able to gather stadiums. But hang on, aren't we all supposed to be able to share the good news with others? Aren't we all, as followers of Jesus, supposed to be in some way, evangelists? That's the dilemma. You know, but what if a follower of Jesus hates speaking publicly, hates public speaking whatsoever, you know? Doesn't it mean they cannot be evangelists? Does it mean that the only thing they can do is just, greeting at the doors or wash dishes after the church potluck? It's a good question. I'm sure that many, if not all of us, somehow relate to that. I hate public speaking. Surprise, surprise, I must admit. You know, that one of the most exciting parts of my sermons is actually doing the graphic slides for my presentations. And I've done some good slides for today. But yet here I am as a public speaker and some sort of, So as usual, I want to ask the question today, is there any other way we can serve God or be actually these public evangelists rather than selling the good news to people in long speech format from up on the stage? Is there any other way? So, amongst the most important thing that those claiming themselves as followers of Jesus are missing today, I believe, is the skill that I mentioned at the beginning, skill of how to build meaningful connections with people. Is it a good skill? Being able to build meaningful connections with people? I believe that we can learn from the scriptures, from the Master himself, the Master of relationships, well-known teacher and public speaker of its time, Jesus, the Messiah himself. For a period of time, I, as a pastor and a preacher, was pondering a fresh formula for evangelism. Basically emphasizing, and you might have noticed that, dialogue and conversation, a two-way communication over a one-way communication, over a one-way person speaking from up front and people just listening to it. In all reality, I realize that most often I just basically speak over your heads. Let's be honest, that's the reality. But I'm convinced that we need to continue, contemplate the new way of communication, maybe the 21st century way of communication, a method that we can all learn in order to share the good news with those around us. How does that sound? So, what's one of the key qualities that any good public speaker or public evangelism should have? Can you name a few? Please, let's have a conversation. What are they? Courage. Fantastic. Love it. Any other? Good storyteller. Love. Clarity of speech. Fantastic. Anything else? Yeah, I love it. I see we are warming up today. Very good. Very good. What about confidence? Is confidence important for public speaking? How can a follower of Jesus gain confidence in what they want to share or in what they need to share? Because often, confident person seems more like an expert, like a person that others take as an authority, that others are able to follow, want to cooperate with, want to listen to. I've seen that a lot in the outdoor trials. A lot of times I've seen that happening. People are more inclined to follow someone who confidently claims that they know the way. Not necessarily they have an idea where they need to go. It's just that confidence makes the difference. That sounds trustworthy. So how do you gain confidence? And especially in public speaking or in evangelism, let's say, through gaining experience. Do you agree? We gain confidence through gaining experience. The more you repeat a thing, the more you are confident with it. Isn't it how it works? So, but how do you get experience if you've never been given a chance to speak or evangelize? It's like a closed loop, like a sick loop, right? Well, yes, being able to speak and even trying to speak requires a lot of self-work and development, but you also need a platform. You need an audience that would listen to you, even to those speeches that are not very clear, are not very courageous, are not very appealing to people. Where is that platform? And I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about the community of believers. Do we have a platform like that? I believe we do. We have a platform that was provided by the Master himself, Jesus Christ, and it's the church. It's the place where I'm standing right here, right now. This is a place for all of us to have the training ability, to have time to train, time to learn the new skills, and time to grow as capable evangelists. Anyone disagrees with that? Because we, as the followers of the Messiah, are meant to be the spiritual authority, experts in spiritual matters. How does that sound? The whole old approach that evangelism is only for evangelists, only for those who can speak from up front, I think it seems like an internal belief that we developed over years, but that sets us up for failure as the church. Now, I want you to participate, and feel free to take out your mobile devices from your pocket, because we are switching to the Slido app. And I'm going to throw another question at you. What is more valuable, questions or I'm not sure what the broken cable. All right. Are you ready? Let's join on the Slido app. Are you there? The only thing you need to do, either scan the code or go to slido.com in your web browser and type the number on the screen, the number of the session. All right. Do we have any? Yes. I love the question over there, right? So, do we have anyone joining? Okay, we can start. Dita, thank you very much for helping us out. Please join at slido.com, type in the number of the session, or scan the code. I really would like you to participate. And before you even answer this question, I want you to think about it. What is more valuable, questions or answers? Questions or answers, what is more valuable? We'll give it a little bit, like 30 seconds. Oh, we have 15 people participating. That's good. That's encouraging. 19, I'm more and more happy now. 22, fantastic. And the proportion changes a little bit. What is more valuable, questions or answers? I'd like you to clarify your position in a special way. Don't be worrying now. It's not here yet. Right now, it's a very straightforward questions or answers. What is more valuable? And we have 30 people in the session. Fantastic. Yes, 73 versus 27. Ooh, the proportion is changing. Vincent, brother, are you participating? Fantastic. I love it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Even if you don't have a phone on you or you are not, if you are a stranger to these technologies, don't worry. Let's just think about together. What is more valuable, questions or answers? Okay, 39. Well, will we have 40 participants? Will we? Will we? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Someone can please take the scan or screenshot of the result and email it or send it to me via Messenger. Thank you, Dita. I appreciate it. Wait a little bit. You know, often the 80% of the audience, and that's pretty much what we experience here. The proportions were slightly different, but normally 80% of the audience answer that questions are more valuable than answers. Well, around 20%, usually, you know, people that are sitting on the dark corners of the venue, they say that the answers are more valuable than questions. But if you are familiar with the Pareto rule, where the social behavior within the group always are divided between like 80-20%, that works. I tell you, if you are interested about social psychology, learn about the Pareto rule. It's very interesting. So, first of all, I'm going to lean to the majority that answered that the questions are more important than the answers. Could we have the second slide or question? Now, the ones that answered that the questions are more important than the answers, I want you to type in one word or two word answers why you think the questions are more valuable than answers. Just a word. You don't need to think too much. Whatever comes first into your mind. Why do you think that the questions are more important than the answers? And I'm asking primarily those who said that the questions are indeed more valuable than the answers. And we have a word cloud here. Curiosity is the main one. So the bigger words means that more people typed it in. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a closer look what's in there. Clarity, curiosity. So you say that questions bother more curiosity. Questions provide more clarity. Questions determine the result or direct the result. What do you mean by that when you say results? And those are the words that are there, and I would have been able to read it if not the microphone that I'm tied to at the moment. Otherwise I would have just walked. And okay, we have another clarity, context. So questions provide people with more context. I'm just guessing what's the explanation under what you've just written there. Clarity, context, curiosity, results, knowledge. Well, do questions provide people with any extra knowledge? Okay, maybe. Thank you very much for your participation. Could someone make the screen shot of it and email it to me? Now, let's switch to that other part, 20 lucky percent that think that the answers are more valuable than the questions. The next one, Dita, please. Yes, so those who answered that the questions, the answers are more important than the questions, could you please type in a few words why you think the answers are more important than the questions? Same thing, it's a cloud question, so we will see results popping up on the screen. Dinosaurs. There must be some certain connection to answers there. Okay, so the answers provide confirmation. Okay. They show you the reality, the answers, well, that's the target there. If someone asks a question, though, they want to get an answer, so they target the answer, right? Dinosaurs win. Knowledge, okay. Knowledge of dinosaurs. Fantastic. That's what we are missing as the society, right? The knowledge on the dinosaurs. Fantastic. I think that's it, because a very small group actually said that the answers are more valuable than the questions. Thank you very much. A screenshot, please, and let's get back to the presentation. Thank you. I really appreciate your input. I feel like we need more conversations happening in this church. Now, the people who answered that the questions are more valuable, right? Can we flick to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. So why do we believe that questions are more valuable than answers? Well, there are the common answers to that question. And if you answered similar way, good on. I'm very happy that you have this knowledge. You learn more from questions. Don't we learn more from questions than the answers? I don't know. What do you think? Do we or not? Questions frame the answers. So depending on the question, you will receive the answer, right? So the question determines what the answer pretty much will be. Now, people love talking about themselves. Don't you find it? And that's what we need to keep in mind always. People love talking about themselves, and I tell you, the conversations that I have, 99.99%, they don't care what I'm telling them or what I'm answering. They want to talk about themselves. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for being able to have a conversation. What's wrong with talking about yourself? That's good. Now, let's switch to the other side. Well, why would people say that the answers are more valuable? Well, experts share knowledge by answering questions. So you want to know the answer for a specific question, you type it in YouTube, and you watch a short 3-minute video on how to do da-da-da-da-da, how to achieve da-da-da-da, what people think on that and that and this and this. Answers offer immediate resolution or guidance. You don't need to think too much, right? So you have a need, here's the solution. Someone has already made the research for you, they give you the solution, straightforward. Benefits you a lot, saves you time. And answers may help to skip the learning stage. Saves time, yeah. But are we as society, as individuals, benefited through skipping the learning stage or not? I want to give you a few scenarios, and these scenarios will come from the Master himself, Jesus, the Messiah, how he handled the answer question situations. Let's have a look. The first scenario, there will be 3, is Luke 18 to 24. A certain ruler asked him, "Good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "Why do you call me good?" Jesus answered. Hang on, is Jesus answering a question on a question? Is he, instead of providing an answer, gives a question in return? What's the purpose of it? Why not just to give an answer? Jesus, why are you complicating things? No one is good except God alone. You know the commandments. You shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony, honor your father and mother. All this I have kept since I was a boy, he said. When Jesus heard this, he said to him, "You still lack one thing.
Sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have the treasures in heaven. Then come and follow me." When he heard this, he became very sad because he was very wealthy. Jesus looked at him and said, "How hard it is for the rich to enter the kingdom of God." A well-known gospel story. Now, what are the three key learnings we can learn about this situation and from this situation? First of all, the ruler was seeking assurance that he was right. Do you agree with that? Well, it's nice to know that you're right. What's wrong with being right? Second, he was seeking validation from a popular influencer. I bet that if people had the mobile devices with good cameras, as we do now, during that conversation, he would have recorded himself a selfie video and then uploaded it to the YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, because, this is a selfie with an influencer, with someone who has authority in the crowd. And of course, he wanted to be validated by such a figure. Nothing wrong with that. People do it all the time. We need validation. We need to understand that we are heard, we are recognized, right? Nothing wrong with that. The one thing, and initially that is why he got the answer from Jesus, not because of the other two. The young ruler still had a genuine desire for spiritual truth. And that's why he received the answer. And you'll see in other situations that Jesus didn't give any answers whatsoever. Now, that's eventually what we need to keep in mind while being asked questions. Jesus never gave direct answers to people's questions. I'll say it again. Jesus never gave direct answers to people's questions. It's a very, very little specific portion of those questions that he answered directly. Often what you would see, he answers question on a question. Now, his style most of the time involved prompting deeper thinking and challenging conventional thinking, common thinking. So Jesus didn't want to provide the simple answers. He wanted the hearers to start thinking. Now, do you actually feel great when you ask someone a question and people answer you with another question? That's terrible, isn't it? Well, people usually look up to experts and hire coaches, pay a lot of money to get high-value answers. No one wants to hear a question back in response to their question. Is it true? Well, let's do a quick check. So those who, 80% roughly, or 75% of you who said that the questions are more valuable than the answers, are you still convinced that it's like that? So the questions are more valuable than the answers. Are you still? Did you change your opinion yet? No? Are you still convinced? Tell me. Yes, I'm still convinced. Yeah, that's it. I didn't change my mind. Did you? I didn't hear any confirmation. So, did you change your mind yet or not? No. Thank you very much, the brave few that are here up front. Now, let me ask you then, if questions are more valuable than the answers, and the majority of us recognize that, why do we try to respond to questions with answers then? Why do we always try to give people answers when they ask us a question, especially when it comes to these spiritual things? It's a trick question. I'm warning you. Right, so now, scenario number 2. Matthew 21, 23, 27. Jesus entered the temple courts, and while he was teaching, the chief priests and the elders of the people came to him. "By what authority are you doing these things?" they asked, "and who gave you this authority?" Jesus replied, I will also ask you one question. You see, I'm not making anything. He does this trick the same again. Jesus replied, "If you answer me, I'll tell you by what authority I'm doing these things. John's baptism, where did it come from? Was it from heaven or human origin?" They discussed it among themselves and said, "If we say from heaven, he will ask us, 'Why didn't you believe him?' But if we say of human origin, we are afraid of the people, because they all hold that John was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, we don't know. Then Jesus said, neither I will tell you what authority I'm doing these things. By what authority? Very interesting. What are the three key learnings from this situation, from this story? First of all, by turning the question back on the elders, Jesus teaches accountability by challenging them. And that's what we need to know about Jesus' style of teaching, Jesus' style of speaking. He teaches by challenging. Jesus challenges people, and that's his way of teaching. He makes them thinking. Now, second one, instead of directly answering to the elders, Jesus poses a question that exposes their dilemma and lack of integrity. Jesus' purpose is not to provide us with the answer. Jesus' purpose with answering the question on a question is to show us that we lack something, that we have a need, to prompt that need within us. And the third one, the elders' reluctance to answer honestly exposes their hypocrisy rather than seeking genuine understanding. And unlike the previous situation, they don't get an answer. And the young ruler did. Why? Because he was genuine in what he was asking. These guys didn't want to get an answer. Their motives were different. Now, realizing the immense value of the questions, Jesus gives us a master class, that's what we've just heard, a master class in conflict management and wisdom. How do you like that? So why are questions more valuable than answers? Well, there is a theory on it, and I'll share it with you now. I feel like, because we are socialized, the way we are socialized, the way we are educated, we are compelled to give answers. We all went to public schools, am I right? Do you remember that feeling sitting in there in the class, how that actually happens in the public school? Then teachers asks a question, whoever was the fastest to raise their hand, shout out the correct answer, was going to be prized. And we know these people, we call them the teacher's pets, right? They are the ones that getting A or A+ most of the time. We know that. Nothing new in this. So if a person who is really shy or full of self-doubt, for example, probably thinks, I'm just sort of thinking about what a person that is shy may think in that situation, like, well, I think I have an answer, but I don't know, I'm just going to be quiet, right? I would rather not give the wrong answer or be humiliated, and I'll just keep quiet. Did you come across this? Did you feel like that any time? Did you feel like that at school? I think we are rewarded, especially in the Western society, we are rewarded for answers. We want to give answers to get the reward. We are trained that way. So when somebody asks us a question, we're almost compelled to give them the answer versus taking a moment to stop and think. So why would we ask more questions? When we do so, we are slower to give answers and we stay curious for a little bit longer. Yes, questions inspire curiosity. We empower the other person to think through the problem, and we actually solve one of the biggest problems, I believe, especially if you are a leader or a manager or someone who leads people somewhere in some certain direction, or a spiritual authority or spiritual guide. So we empower people through questions. We take things off our plate as the leaders, as the bosses, and it feels really to do that, really good to do that. I tell you, if you try as a leader, if you try to do everything alone, you set yourself for a failure. You need to be able to communicate with your team and empower them to do things for the team effort and team result. So the people we deal with become more confident through questions, more resourceful, more empowered to seek and find the true answers within themselves, because we have the answers within ourselves. The reason that we reach out for the answers outside is just because we don't want to hear the voice, the moral compass, we call it, that is already installed in there. I think that's it because of that. Now, last scenario, Matthew 22, 41 to 46. While the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them, "What do you think about the Messiah? Whose son is he?" So Jesus does not ask the questions, he asks the questions. "The son of David," they replied. He said to them, "How is it then that David, speaking by the Spirit, calls him Lord?" And the Lord, it's an equivalent word for Yahweh himself. How, if we transfer it into our today's church language, Jesus really says, how is that then David, speaking by the Spirit, calls Jesus the Father? Yahweh himself. That's a different topic though. For he says, "The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet." If then David calls him Lord or Yahweh, how can he be his son? No one could say a word in reply, and from that day, no one dared to ask him any more questions. 3 key learnings from this situation, this scenario. So Jesus poses a question that goes beyond conventional interpretation, beyond the common thinking. He doesn't say what people used to say for ages and centuries. He challenges that and he goes beyond that. Well, Jesus is a master of asking questions. Hence, he wins every debate because he is a master of the debate. If you or I or we all together as the group master the art of questions and art of listening, we will win every debate. If not, we will fail every debate. Jesus from then on is a spiritual authority whose wisdom and leadership cannot be questioned. And that's what we can learn from Christ himself, because he is a master. He is a master of asking questions. Well, it's quite upsetting that those who are supposed to be the salt of the society, the influences of the world, the ones who possess the truth, I'm talking about us, right, and have received eternal wisdom from the Word of God, are not taken seriously by the world around us. Seriously, without being sarcastic, if we are not taken seriously by our non-believers, peers, friends, family members, who actually lack spiritual wisdom, perhaps there is something wrong with us, not with them. Wouldn't you say so? Maybe there are things that we can learn as the church, as the group of believers, as the ones that have been entrusted with the wisdom from God, with the wisdom from the scriptures. Maybe we haven't paid attention to something yet. Maybe there are things for us to learn, to master. Perhaps we could learn the art of listening versus talking, the lost art of posing questions. Please take some spare time to think about it, but don't try to answer immediately back to me, okay? Take time to think about it. Questions empower people. Questions are helpful. If we want to build meaningful connections with our audience, our community, our friends, our peers, our boss, our employees, our partners in life, maybe we should get better at asking questions instead of trying to provide everyone with a quick answer. Don't be Karen, right? In the light of this, it would really actually pay off to understand how to ask good questions. Because not all questions are created equally. They don't hold the same amount of value. And if you get into the topic, you'd know what I'm trying to say. As it was pointed very astutely, people care more about talking about themselves. That's a good thing. You know why? That makes the evangelism a lot easier, because we don't often have to say anything. despite even if we want to. All we have to do is to find good questions and ask them.
Thank you for the homework, Pastor Vitali. We need to find and learning good questions. Before we sing our closing hymn, I would like to remind you that if you need a special prayer, we have our team who's going to be at the right-hand side at the back there, just next to the sound desk, and they'll be ready to pray for you personally. Let us stand and sing our closing hymn. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassion, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth. Thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide. Strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
You know the commandments, he said. You shall not commit adultery, you shall not murder, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony, honor your father and mother. All this I have kept since I was a boy, he said. When Jesus heard this, he said to him, you still lack one thing. Sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. Let's have a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for providing us with such good examples of how to deal with our everyday situations. But even more than that, the Bible is the book of the future, not the book of the past. But Lord, one thing we lack. Please let us get back to reading the Word so we can learn from it. Because blessed are not the hearers, but doers. What's worth of your word if we never do as it says? Lord, let us learn from you as the master, and let us learn how we can serve you by following you in everyday's conversations, in everyday's context in our life, and everyday's little things, so we become true followers of yours. and that we praise to you, Lord, forever and ever. Amen.